Everybody, and welcome into Going Public. I am Harry McCullough. It's the end of 2023, so we thought we'd wrap up the year, talk about the Terrebonne Levee and Conservation District. Here is the Executive Director, Reggie Dupre. Gordon Dove is down in the end as our parish president, and Tony Alfred is the president of the parish Levee and Conservation District. So, guys, thanks so much for being with us. So, yeah, 23 turned out to be a pretty good year, right? I mean, a lot of excitement, a lot of construction because of the way the weather patterns helped for us this year. So, thanks again for being here. Reggie, we wanted to first talk about the district because Gordon is on, his last couple of days as parish president, but things don't change with the district, right? Because this is a different type of board.
Well, Terrebonne Levee District was created back in '97 when we consolidated North Terrebonne and South Terrebonne Tidewater District, and it's a entity of the state. The governor appoints all 9 commissioners. This is not the same as the Waterworks District or the Hospital District or the Library Board here in Terrebonne. Although it's the same geographic area, all the commissioners are appointed by the governor, so it's truly a state entity as opposed to a quasi parish entity as these other boards, because the commissioners are appointed either by the council or the parish president on these others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no change as far as that's concerned.
Right.
So, just let's talk about 23, Tony, and good year for you guys. Y'all feel that way?
Yeah, it was good. It was a good year. We were able to get a bunch of construction done. As we talked about before, we're in the process of going to 15 feet, and we have on quite a few reaches. So we're still working on that, pushing that forward. And to the west, still trying to get that last 5 miles that's not under construction and working with the Corps. The Corps has worked with us pretty good. The colonel that's there right now is trying everything that he can. And I think we're supposed to break ground on that maybe in July. Sure. Yeah, so we're hoping we don't have to be in a cone to get permission to do it, that the Corps moves a little faster, which they are, to get that done for us.
I noticed the way you're talking about the Corps. I sound a little different.
That's right.
It's a little bit better these days.
It's not a curse word right now, so things are good.
Yeah.
And Gordon, and I'm joking, obviously, about the Corps. They have helped us out quite a bit. As you come to the end of your term, but look, this kind of stuff it's always near and dear to your heart, right?
Yeah, we've come a long way in Terrebonne Parish. I mean, I was 12 years a legislative chairman of natural resources, and I actually sat on CPRA, and so did Reggie. And we've seen Terrebonne go from virtually no levees to an 80-mile system and going to 15 feet with 14 floodgates. And as parish president, we put in 30 pump stations. All, most of them telemetry and SCADA, and then of course we backup generators and a couple of lock systems and a lot of water control structures.
Well, no doubt. If somebody, from 30 years ago to today, it's quite a difference, right?
Yeah, you had no protection in the past. I mean, all you waited for was a hurricane to come in and flood you. That's it.
Right.
There was nothing to stop it,
All right, Reggie. So you got a PowerPoint that we'll talk about, and look, you've been here to hold all 3 of you guys have been here the whole time. It's made what a difference, right? But to see these
one thing I want to bring up is
age,
that a couple of weeks ago there was a northeasterner that put a 9-foot tidal surge in Charleston, and it flooded some of the downtown areas. 9-foot tidal surge over here in Terrebonne basically is almost a non-problem for us anymore. So that's how far we've come. From the same tidal surge that flooded 11,000 people just less than 20 years ago, now today it's almost a non-issue.
Right.
So that's, it's a lot of accomplished in a very short period of time.
Right. Yeah. No, a lot of people stepped up, a lot of manpower. So what are you going to show us today?
Well, we're going to go through this PowerPoint. They can start running through it. Of course, the first is just the map that y'all have seen time and time again, 98-mile map of Morganza. As Tony said earlier, one of the main goals this year was to raise some of these levees, especially in the southern part of the system, to 15 feet, and closing gaps where we can. The gap on the east side in Reach L, we'll talk about, that's under construction and will be done by the hurricane season in '24. And the Reach A gap, the Corps is planning on advertising for bids in May and awarding in early July. So that's,
And Reggie, just to touch on this too, Lafourche and Terrebonne working together, we were able to work with them to put L and the other reach,
K.
K, in Lafourche. It's in Lafourche, but we assisted and basically put those levees together.
Right.
And again, we got a lot of help with Lafourche in the process of back and forth to DC and dealing with the Corps and some other things. So from a construction standpoint, we were able to put that together pretty fast in coordination with them.
Yeah, no doubt.
okay, so we'll go through some of these projects. The next slide is just some elevations where you can see the black lines of center line profiles we've done. The blue and red lines are our target elevations we're trying to achieve. You can see some of them are much higher. That's the Corps' target elevations, but with their schedule, it'll be much longer than ours. I think the next one is the overall investment slide. So you can see in the last 15 or so years, $1.2 billion of local and state money has been spent right here in this area on flood control. $300 million along the Morganza alignment from the taxpayers of Terrebonne. The state has matched us dollar for dollar, another $300 million. The lock complex, we plugged in 400. It might end up being a little more than that before it's all said and done. Then I plugged in a $200 million figure. This is a conservative figure. It's actually more than that. Everything the parish has done to improve the parish drainage levees, convert floodgates to locks, big pump stations in Bayou Black. So if you add that all together, that's $1.2 billion. And finally, the federal government has showed up. And Congress has made several appropriations of $440 million we have today. We expect $28 million this current next fiscal year for the feds. That's $1.66 billion on where the Corps just started a couple of years ago. So we still way ahead of the Corps in funding, but this is the investments.
This might be our biggest industry now. When you're talking about oil and gas, for hospitals, schools, this might be our biggest industry in this area.
It's been a lot of contractors and a lot of truck drivers and a lot of people,
Engineering firms.
that got a lot of jobs with this.
Yep.
So we can go through some of these projects and then we'll carry the rest to the next segment. This one is the Dularge East levee improvements. We've had my board set up a goal of on Lower Dularge East is an old parish drainage levee, 7 miles long. We improving it to 12 feet. We in our last leg of we have, I think, less than a mile left of getting everything to 12 feet on that east side of Lower Dularge, which is not in the federal alignment.
Yeah. Harry, this is where really the levee board and the parish and everyone stepped up. The plan was, according to the alignment, to basically just cut Lower Dularge out of the system below Falgout. And we had levees in place, so we had to watch what monies were spent to bring that up. But we're bringing that up in coordination with how we're bringing up the Morganza system to include them and not cut them out.
Right.
And so that was a real step up to do that. And we're in the process
That's everything below Falgout.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, which there's, how many tenants did they have down there? 400 and something?
There's I think it's 700 families.
Was it 700?
I think so.
Okay. It was a bunch of people.
yeah?
And they were just going to cut it out of the system. So
Like
it
12
was
to
a good deal.
1,500 people live down there, and you just can't just walk away from that level of all the fishermen down there and the commercial fishermen, a lot of people still work and live down there. So then we moving on to the Morganza between Dularge and the Houma Navigational Canal is Reach E. That is nearly complete to 15 feet. It is very nice in South Terrebonne to look at 15-foot levees.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, when the first one was built, I called Wendell Curall. I said, we finally joined the crowd. We have big levees now in southern Terrebonne. So this is a Reach E. Then the next slide is the Grand Bayou Grand Caillou floodgate is going on dry dock next week. And we every 10 years or so, you have to dry dock and do major maintenance on these barge floodgates. This picture's taken in Amelia, and like I said, they go on dry dock to paint it and do the repairs, major repairs.
What's in there while it's on dry dock?
Well, it's not hurricane
Oh,
season
sure.
now.
Yeah.
The water's low.
You always do this in the winter months.
Yeah.
I think this brings up the point, you should never build anything, public works projects, whether it's a building, a levee, floodgate, pump station. You never build anything you can't maintain. So we built this 10 years ago, and we having to do not just the day-to-day maintenance, but the major maintenance periodically on it.
And that's in Amelia.
That's now in Amelia,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's been
Body
disconnected
Black, right? Body
and pushed to a shipyard, to Bollinger Shipyard in Amelia.
Mm-hmm.
The next project is reach G2, G1, and right just east of the Bubba Dove floodgate. That is at 15 feet also. Yeah, so we can go on the next segment on all the rest of these.
Yeah, so as you can see, we got about 20 seconds here, but this year made a difference. So
Yes.
most people in construction go, man, we've done more than we had in a long time.
Right.
Because of the weather.
Haven't seen it this dry.
Right.
I don't think ever, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Long time.
Not good for marsh fires, but
Right.
but
Right.
good for
Good for
construction.
construction.
So things can push dirt around for sure. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back with more Going Public right after this.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.
Everybody, welcome back to Going Public. I am Harry McCullough. I'm here with Reggie Duprague, Tony Alford, and Gordon Dove as we're talking about the Terrebonne Levee and Conservation District. Gordon, we wanted to talk a little bit about the lock system too, that we don't have a slide for that just yet, but it fits in right here in a slide presentation of where that's coming together.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's the lock system in the HNC. That's been an ongoing project from funding after the BP oil spill. And so they're out, they just received the bids, they're evaluating the bids right now. It's a $400 million project, and we finally went to bid with it, and the levee board's handling it.
Yeah. Tony, how crucial would be that to get that piece of the pie?
Well, that's the linchpin of this whole system, everything that we've done. And what it does, of course, and we talked about this before, is the fresh water that just rushes through the parish, that wall basically stops it, and the fresh water travels within the tributaries of the system, turning it fresh. But it also stops the salt water from coming in. And, it's great to catch speckled trout at Gulf Island or at West and all that, but you know what? We need to go a little further out and do that so everything stays alive within the system instead of the trees dying. And
All you got to do is drive down the bayou and look at the trees.
Right.
This is not.
So
what it
this
should
is
be.
going to make a huge difference. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, be a big part of the whole program.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay. So where does that fit in?
So this year, the salt water got in the channel, I think, up to 42 ports per thousand.
Yeah.
That's high.
Yeah, we were
That's
talking
like
about
the
the
middle of the
Mississippi.
Gulf of
but
Mexico.
We've had that problem here for a long
Yeah.
time. In fact, we're not even using the water here. We're using Schriever now.
That's
and the
right.
Mississippi River.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. So we're going on with this presentation. Now we at the channel, which is Bubba Dove Floodgate, and soon to be the HNC Lock Complex. But reach G1 and G2A are under construction. About 50% of it is done, up to 15. we have just bid out between G2B, which is across Sweetwater Pond 15. We don't have a slide on it because construction hasn't started, but the contractor has just started mobilizing on it.
I see.
The next project is G2C. That one is done, finished. H1 is the levee section just west of the Cocodrie floodgate. FEMA paid to bring this levee back and repair it to a 13. We paid the difference and went to 15 with it. That is complete and done, and including the ramp. You can see on the upper right side, we widened and raised the road ramp on the side of the road gate. So this means by this coming hurricane season, everything between the H&C Bubba floodgate and the Cocodrie floodgate will be at 15 on the bottom of our system.
15. Which has been our danger areas for many years.
Absolutely.
Right.
Next project is a FEMA hazardous mitigation project at the Cocodrie floodgate. So what we saw for Ida was a reverse head situation where you had all Lake Boudreaux tried to dump out, towards Cocodrie, and the levees and the floodgate held it in. Well, we did some analysis by putting additional flap gates in the road gate and the wall next to the floodgate would reduce that 10-foot inside tide to 5.
Yeah.
And basically, that's
Having a
almost,
flapper.
Now, Reggie, that's this one, and this is the one we pretty much started on.
Right.
This is Placid, and it's also Bush Canal,
Canal. Right.
where we're going to be doing this. So we've started at Petit Caillou, but once we have those, so that's important, especially for those people that caught water.
And the water can go
right
both
there,
ways,
that we're
right.
going to do something about that. And this is huge. It's just one step at a time. We're doing this one. And so by next hurricane season, we'll have this and maybe some done on Placid and Bush to stop that, knock that 9 foot down
So it can go both ways.
5 feet.
that's right. So it'll let it out. It relieves itself. The next slide is reach H2 and H3, which is 6.5 miles between Bush Canal, Floodgate, down to Cocodrie. That one FEMA paid to bring it back to 13. It's in beautiful shape. We do plan in the near future of trying to bring this to 15 feet, but instead of dredging on the side, we're looking at maybe buying some flexi floats so that dump truck can be brought across. Tony's been
And
pushing this.
we have some right now that we're leasing, but we're going to lease purchase these flexi floats. And I think what it'll allow us to do, I know what it'll allow us to do, is be able to haul the soil in, get it in faster, maybe not tear up as much of the roads as has been happening before when we haul it in, because you'll be able to put those flexi floats across the canal closer to the dirt
it's
source
needed,
that
right.
you're bringing in and hauling in. So those things are going to be phenomenal to bring these levees up to 18, 21 foot, wherever we
Flexi
decide
float
to
is
go.
basically a temporary bridge.
Temporary bridge,
That can
exactly.
handle
Yes.
that kind of weight.
Yeah, we're using them on L right now to go across a pipeline that was doing a little subsiding, and so we lease purchased a bunch of them.
On Brady
We're
Road,
planning on
the
using them for
parish
this.
bought the ones that we had used for the Dularge West project, so that is a flexi float. So you're right, a temporary bridge. But that allows us to build this without impacting going further into the wetlands. It's about 1/3 the time and the same cost. So that's why we're very, very interested in doing that.
Right. No, time is something you can't you got to have, right?
And you know it well. So the example for H2 and H3, we always assumed, or for the most part, over the years, dredging was the cheapest way to do it
Right,
for the
right,
most part.
right next to it.
But when you dredge it, for example, H2 and H3, if you dredge this, by the time you let it sit and dry and you move it, you're moving it 2 or 3 times, and you start figuring out the cost compared to putting the flexi floats in place, the cost was right about the same. But the time difference was 3 years difference, getting it done faster by putting the flexi floats in place.
And that's
That's
something you
and the
can't-
reason you need flexi floats, I guess we should have said this to start with. Some of our levees, especially H2, H3, and lower reach F, are island levees where you cannot drive. There's no way to get a piece of equipment on it without putting it over a temporary bridge or some type of marine equipment.
The other thing, just to touch on, so a lot of times you figure things out as you go. H2 and H3, we got that we dredged the material and put it up there. And we were told that over time, the rain on that would subside a little bit of the salinity in the soil and things would grow. No, didn't happen. So we had to haul another 6 inches, between 6 inches and a foot on the top so that we could root and grow vegetation
Because it wouldn't
on these
grow
levees.
any grass.
Yeah,
You learn as you go, right?
yeah. Well, sometimes what you're told isn't necessarily.
Science ain't science all the time.
So the next project is actually a federal project, which is the first federal project which is complete, the Humboldt Canal preload. So the new Humboldt Canal sector gate will be between these two hills you see on each side of Humboldt Canal.
Yeah.
It will replace the old Humboldt Canal floodgate. This is about $8 million for these two mounds that were put there by the federal government.
First federal money put on the ground.
That's
Wow.
right. Next project is jumping over to Lower Pontchartrain. That one is completed at a 15 foot. This is from the Island Road to the marina. On Reach K, which is from Pontchartrain floodgate over to the Grand Bayou floodgate in Lafourche Parish. The existing footprint would not allow us to go any higher than 11, but we're going to 11 feet. And this has been a joint effort between us, Lafourche Parish government, Terrebonne Parish, and
Even south Lafourche, North Lafourche levee, Lafourche, Terrebonne. That's what I mean
people
about working
together.
together, and each entity coughed up $250,000 to haul soil in to bring that levee up.
yeah, to raise what we already had. Then the last slide we have here is Reach L. Now, we went to bid with this right after Hurricane Ida. Now, Terrebonne Levee District took over the owner of the contract. I think of what is referred to. So this is about a 2.5 mile section between the Apache Farm and Lafourche Parish over the Grand Bayou floodgate. All marsh, all open water, including 4 big pipelines we had to cross. We were able to go to bid within budget because right after Ida, Tony convinced us all that we needed to go and assist and pump out this farm and do some emergency work. By doing that, we were able to go to bid on this project. Came in at about $11.4 million. Of course, there were other improvements we want to do. We ran into a buzzsaw with the pipelines. That's why we have on the bottom left, you can see the FlexiFloat bridge.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Well, that's over the pipeline. So the state is coming up with an additional $7 million to put a wall over where these pipelines go, because you can't just leave a 300-foot hole in the levee. And to raise this levee, which was first engineered to 9.5 feet up to 12 feet. So we just approved that amendment to the intergovernmental agreement with CPRA. So now we have enough funds to build the whole thing to 12 and a pipeline wall. And that's the gap to the east. We will be tied in very, very soon, complete all the way from Cutoff, Louisiana, now to west of Dularge. And once the Corps does reach 8, we will have all the levees done except the 2 intercoastal floodgates.
Right. Oh, man. It makes a lot of people, we can just get the government to pay attention with some of the insurances and stuff. but-
And with the money that Lafourche and Terrebonne has put up, in dealing with the CPRA or probably any state group, when they see that you're putting your own money up and you have an opportunity like this to really tie in and work together and make this thing
skin in the
happen,
game.
and instead of leaving there at 9, we get an extension to go to 12. They work with you when they see how important it's going to be to make it happen, and you're participating.
Yeah,
making it
well,
happen.
you guys have led the way, and it certainly is important to this area. So, guys, thanks so much for the update. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thanks, Harry.
That's going
Thank you.
public. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Harry McCullough. We'll see you next time.